There are many logical fallacies that people fall victim to using when arguing really anything. However, one of the more frequent fallacies you'll see used is that of tradition. The fallacy of tradition is believing that something is correct because it's been the societal norm previously. So, you want to learn about tradition. Well, you came to the right place. You see, our country's built off of tradition. I mean, think about all of the holidays people celebrate. All of the special things we do for each holiday is due to these things having been done for years prior. They've been done for longer than we've been alive, and they'll most likely be done far after everyone's time here has passed. You see, tradition is really just about legacy, and people often will use tradition as justification for their viewpoints on specific topics. One of the most prevalent and talked about topics where this becomes a factor is that of gender roles. Each role would expect those within it to do specific things and act in specific ways based off of their predetermined role. This was the societal norm for a long time. Let's think of a hypothetical. Let's assume that person 1 is named Stacy, a loving housewife, and person 2 is Steve, the man of the house, right? He's the husband. Now, they're living in the 1960s when these societal norms are, the norm. Now, Stacy sits Steve down and tells him she wants to enter the workforce. She wants to be successful, and she just doesn't feel fulfilled or happy being a stay-at-home wife and mom. Steve would likely respond in one of two ways. Now, there's a very small chance that he may actually agree to allow for her to search, for a job in order for her happiness to benefit. Unfortunately, the more likely response would just consist of him stating a few things. Either, that's not normal, or, are you insulting how much I make? Or even the, very common saying that things now are the way that things have always been, and will always be. He may even respond in violence, which, unfortunately, was very common back then. Now, these usually stemmed from two things. One being toxic masculinity, which was pushed heavily on men at this time, and the other being the more, I think we should say, universal reasoning. That being the fear of change. They often like the status quo. People don't like change. And why would someone like Steve like it when it changes to not benefit him? Do you think he wants to deal with having more competition for his job and just in the workplace in general? No. It would threaten him and his very existence. Now, the problem comes from people using tradition as a backing for their arguments. You see, while using tradition is very common, in arguments, it's not very good. Tradition is just based off of beliefs that tend to be outdated and flawed. It's a logical fallacy, but really an illogical argument backing. It just doesn't help allow for people to understand where you're coming from. It truly makes very little sense, even if you can understand why they may be arguing this. Especially when it's pushing a negative rhetoric. Because tradition isn't based off of science. It's based off of beliefs and legacy.